As we all know, it can happen at home, it can happen at work, it can happen in a grocery store. Disagreements are a part of life. But we have some help here. Yes, he's going to help us keep the peace. Joining us now via Zoom is Dr. Mike Smith. He's a 26-year veteran with the U.S. Air Force and a first sergeant with the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. And now he is an executive coach and CEO of John Mattone Global. Dr. Mike Smith, first of all, thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, John, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, and thank you for your service. Okay, let's jump right in here. Here we go. So,
Alrighty.
First of all, I think it's important to establish we cannot avoid disagreements, can we?
No, they're out there, especially if you look at the landscape today of everything that's going on, returning and recovering from the pandemic, remote work, issues with families. I mean, there's just so much out there that we could have discussions around and disagreements on.
Okay, and for those who seem to not be able to really communicate during that time, or they get really angry, you have some tips for us to help keep the peace. So I'm going to let you go ahead and lead the way, Doctor, if you would, please.
All righty, well, thank you very much. So before we start, though, I was looking at your weather forecast, and that's actually beautiful because in Las Vegas here, 2 weeks of a heat wave, triple digits. So you got some nice weather up there. Yeah, I think we can agree on that.
Being with the Air Force, you would notice. Yes.
Yeah, right. So to begin this, I think one of the fundamental, most important things that we can do when it comes to having a discussion or a disagreement, especially, if it's something we're passionate about, we have a very strong position on, is to show kindness, right? Kindness is one of those things that is totally free of charge. It costs nothing. But the return that you get from being kind, right? Just being cordial, showing dignity, treating each other with respect, that tends to automatically put defenses down and just kind of open the door for a nice two-way discussion. So kindness, again, is one of those things that will take you a long way.
Okay, and then the next suggestion you have, I think, is interesting too, because what you're doing is keeping it from being contentious. So you're saying,
Yes.
Listen. And I have noticed that even if I disagree with someone, if I sit and listen, they tend to calm down and go, well, at least he's open-minded, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So listening, especially active listening, is huge. I use the example all the time. If me and my wife are having a discussion, or if I'm working with a client and they're pouring out their heart to me, I'm sitting there shaking my head, looking like I'm engaged. In the back of my mind, though, I'm thinking, what was that I was supposed to pick up at the store on the way home? Or I wonder what's for dinner tonight, right? That little self-talk. So it takes intent and focus to actively listen. But by listening to people, being present, exactly like you said, it kind of puts the guard down. It shows them that you're really interested and care about what they have to say. Doesn't necessarily mean you agree with it, but giving people the opportunity to just speak really what's on their mind, to share their beliefs, their opinion, their perception with you, is really important in this instance.
And Dr. Smith, there is a difference between being open-minded and being in agreement, correct? And how can you differentiate? And you should remain open-minded, right?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of times, especially when I was in the military, I worked for Berkshire Hathaway, and now as a coach, I got to tell you, being open-minded and just keeping your mind at a place where you're willing to hear what's being said is you can actually, majority of the time, learn something new from the others you're talking to. So really what we're talking about with open-mindedness is, first of all, being aware of your biases, right? That's that internal prejudice either for or against something that could really skew this piece of open-mindedness as you go down the road of a conversation. So being open-minded, again, like you said, which is a really good point, John, doesn't necessarily mean you agree, right? You just don't have blinders on and you're open to listening and learning.
Another suggestion you have, you say, agree to disagree. Now, I'm curious, Dr. Smith, how do you do that and look like you're not just dismissing the argument? Because I've seen people be very heated and then they go, let's agree to disagree. In other words, let's just move on. Is sometimes that the best answer?
So it could be, right? So it's like the law of diminishing return, right? If you've been having this discussion or this disagreement over and over and over, and it's doing nothing but just grinding wheels, wasting time, at least I think when you agree to disagree, you come to a point of where you really truly understand each other's positions, and more importantly, the why. So when you agree to disagree, as long as there's a reason behind it and you both are educated and learn something, then I think it has meaning behind that agree to disagree versus, like you said, just being more dismissive, right?
Yes, yeah. And doctor, you also recommend to give it time. What do you mean exactly when you say give it time?
Okay, so really good question, John. I think the best way to paint this picture is, let me just share a quick story with you, right? Not that this has ever happened to me, but sometimes me and my wife might potentially have discussions or disagreements. And she is a firm believer of this aspect of give it time, where me, I'm kind of more like, I want to resolve it right now. So we have our little disagreement, our discussion, hypothetically, right? And then we'll try to take that time, but immediately she'll walk into the kitchen. I walk into the kitchen. Hey, did you think about what I said yet? Did it make sense? And she's like, dude, give me time. She'll go into the bedroom. I'll follow her to the bedroom. Hey, okay, it's been 2 minutes. Like, you had time to think about it? And so what does that do? By me not giving it time, stress, anxiety, leave me alone, defensiveness, right? So a lot of times when you give people time, that's when they can really reflect on and stew on everything that's been said. And as it starts to sink in, you'd be surprised how much sense it starts making on either side, right? Which then again reopens the door to take that next step in moving forward in the discussion. So it's a really powerful one, not always easy, but very simple.
Doctor, in our final 30 seconds here, you also recommend breaking down the argument a little bit into small pieces. Maybe, is that also saying find common ground, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Really good point, John. So breaking it down, what we want to do, especially when it comes to, having these disagreements or discussions, again, a lot of times we're really passionate about our beliefs and our positions. So breaking it down, what that does is that really helps to organize the overwhelm and kind of set the stage one step at a time to go down the path. It's like putting guardrails in place to keep everyone focused.
Dr. Mike Smith, you are a fascinating person. For folks who want to learn more about you or maybe more good advice when it comes to disagreements, where can they go?
So I can be found on the website at www.johnmatone.com, and there's a lot more information there on coaching and blogs and other tips as well.
All right, really good advice. Thank you so much. I'm going to use that, Doctor, so thank you again for all your advice and expertise.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of the week.
All righty, you too. Now, once again, Dr. Mike Smith. All right, coming up here, we've talked a lot about the relief